The morning sun carved sharp angles across the marble lobby of Winters Technologies. Gabriel stepped from his private elevator, platinum cufflinks catching the light like armor. At 28, he ruled a billion-dollar empire from the 42nd floor, but his reputation for cruelty preceded him through every corridor. The assistant's desk sat empty. Again. "That's a record," Harrison Blake said, approaching with coffee. Gabriel's business partner possessed everything Gabriel lacked: warmth, humanity, the ability to smile without calculating profit margins. 9 days. Jennifer lasted 9 days before you broke her. Gabriel's fingers never paused on his phone screen. If people can't handle professional standards, they shouldn't waste my time. Professional standards. Harrison's laugh echoed off pristine walls. You made her rewrite the same report 6 times because of font spacing. Attention to detail matters. By noon, 3 candidates had fled. The first crumbled when Gabriel questioned her competence. The second didn't survive his critique of her handwriting. The third actually stood during the interview. "Sir, with respect, I've worked for demanding bosses before, but I've never encountered someone who takes pleasure in making others miserable. Good day." Gabriel barely glanced up as the man left. At 3 o'clock, a soft knock interrupted his focus. "Enter." Papers scattered across the expensive Persian rug like falling leaves. A young woman dropped to her hands and knees, frantically gathering what appeared to be her resume. Auburn hair fell across her face as she crawled across his office floor. "I'm so sorry. The air conditioning caught them right as I walked in." Her voice trembled. "I should have been more careful." Gabriel watched in fascination. She wore a simple navy dress that spoke of careful budgeting rather than privilege. When she finally stood, cheeks flushed with embarrassment, something unexpected stirred in his chest. "Are you quite finished with your floor show?" She straightened her shoulders, meeting his gaze directly. Her eyes were striking green, and despite obvious mortification, determination sparked within them like hidden fire. "Yes, sir. I'm Melody Carter. Here about the executive assistant position." Gabriel leaned back in his leather throne, dismissal forming on his tongue, but something about how she stood there, papers crumpled in trembling hands, chin raised despite her humiliating entrance, made him pause. "Sit." Melody placed her papers carefully on his desk's edge and sat with perfect posture, despite obvious nervousness. Gabriel lifted her resume, noting immediately the standard copy paper. Melody Carter, 26 years old, associate degree in business administration. Previous experience includes receptionist at a dental office and part-time barista. His gaze lifted, disdain barely concealed, hardly the background for a billion-dollar corporation. "You're right," Melody said quietly. "I don't have the same credentials as other candidates probably did, but I'm willing to learn, and I don't give up easily." Gabriel almost smiled at her naivety. "Miss Carter, do you understand this position's demands? Managing my calendar includes meetings with Fortune 500 CEOs, international calls at all hours, events where a single mistake could cost millions. I understand the stakes are high." Her voice grew steadier. "But everyone starts somewhere. Even you had a first job once." The audacity should have infuriated him. Instead, Gabriel found himself intrigued. When had someone last spoken to him so directly without fear or calculation? "Very well. Let's test your capabilities." He leaned forward like a predator sensing weakness. "Reschedule my meeting with Morrison Group from Thursday at 2 to Friday at 9:30. Contact their offices. Confirm the change. Update conference room reservations. You have 20 minutes. Through glass walls, Gabriel watched her settle at the assistant station, picking up the phone with furrowed concentration. He couldn't hear her words, but witnessed her taking notes, nodding, occasionally gesturing as she spoke. 15 minutes later, she knocked again. "The meeting's rescheduled for Friday at 9:30, Melody reported. "Morrison Group confirmed the time works perfectly. I've updated the Sapphire room reservation and arranged morning refreshments since the timing changed. I also noticed your Tokyo conference call at 10:15, so I moved it to 10:45 to prevent rushing between meetings." Gabriel stared. The simple task had been completed not just efficiently, but with considerations he hadn't even thought of. "How did you know about Tokyo?" "I saw it when accessing the calendar system for room reservations," she explained. "Hope that was all right. Didn't want you feeling rushed." For the first time in months, Gabriel sat speechless. Every other assistant had needed detailed instructions for the simplest tasks. That will be all. As Melody turned to leave, she stumbled slightly, catching herself against the door frame. Gabriel's brief approval evaporated instantly. Try not to break anything on your way out. But that evening, alone in his office while city lights sparkled below, Gabriel reviewed Melody's afternoon work. 3 small typos in follow-up emails, but the substance was solid. More than solid. It was thoughtful, thorough in ways he hadn't expected. His phone buzzed with a text from Harrison. Heard the afternoon interview went differently. Finally found someone who can handle the Ice King? Gabriel's finger hovered over the keyboard, something unfamiliar twisting in his chest as he remembered green eyes that refused to look away. He hired her. Monday morning arrived with Melody Carter seated at the assistant's desk, back straight as cathedral spires, fingers flying across the keyboard with surprising grace. Gabriel emerged from his elevator to find his coffee waiting, still steaming beside a neat stack of prioritized correspondence and a revised daily schedule that actually made sense. Your 9 o'clock with Peterson Industries has been moved to conference room B, she said without looking up. Their team prefers the Eastern exposure for morning presentations. Also, I took the liberty of researching their quarterly reports. There are some concerning discrepancies in their overseas manufacturing costs that might interest you. Gabriel paused, briefcase halfway to his office door. In 3 months, 7 assistants had never once anticipated his needs, let alone conducted independent research. Show me. Melody's analysis was thorough, highlighting inconsistencies that could save his company millions in a potential acquisition. Gabriel found himself leaning closer, aware of the faint scent of vanilla in her hair, the way her fingers trembled slightly as she pointed to spreadsheet columns. This is excellent work. Miss Carter? She looked up, surprise flickering across her features. Thank you, Mr. Winters. Their eyes held for a moment too long. However, Gabriel continued, voice cold as frost, you've made a formatting error in the executive summary. Single spacing, not double. Redo it. The light in her eyes dimmed. Yes, sir. As she turned away, Gabriel hated himself. But the alternative terrified him more. Wanting someone. Needing someone. Breaking his carefully constructed walls for a woman who would inevitably leave like everyone else. 2 weeks passed. Melody proved herself again and again, anticipating his needs with uncanny precision, never complaining about his cutting remarks or impossible standards. But Gabriel noticed things he wished he didn't. How she skipped lunch to finish projects. How her shoes were worn at the heels. How she flinched whenever he raised his voice. One evening, Gabriel returned to the office at 9, surprised to find the light still on. Melody sat at her desk, eyes red-rimmed, staring at her computer screen. Why are you still here? She jumped, hand flying to her chest. Mr. Winters, I didn't hear you come in. I was just finishing the Morrison merger documents. Those aren't due until Friday. I know, but I wanted them perfect. She rubbed her eyes. I can't afford to make mistakes. I need this job. Something in her voice made Gabriel pause. Why? Melody's jaw tightened. That's personal, sir. I'm making it professional. Answer the question. For a moment, he thought she'd refuse. Then her shoulders sagged. My mother has stage 4 cancer. The treatment isn't covered by insurance. I'm working 3 jobs to pay for it. But it's not enough. This position pays more than all 3 combined. Her voice cracked. So yes, Mr. Winters, I need this job. Desperately. Gabriel stood frozen, shame washing over him in waves. Every cruel comment, every impossible demand, every time he'd watched her flinch and felt satisfaction instead of remorse. Go home, Miss Carter. But the documents go home. That's an order. Melody gathered her things in silence, eyes downcast. As she reached the elevator, Gabriel heard himself speak. Miss Carter. She turned. Your mother. What hospital? St. Mary's. Why? Gabriel pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. No reason. Good night. The elevator doors closed on her confused expression. 3 days later, Melody burst into his office without knocking, tears streaming down her face. Gabriel looked up from his laptop, heart lurching. What's wrong? Someone paid my mother's medical bills. Her voice shook. All of them. Every single treatment, every medication, Everything. The hospital said it was an anonymous donor, but I know it was you." Gabriel's expression remained impassive. "I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me." She crossed the room in 3 strides, stopping directly in front of his desk. "Why would you do this? You don't even like me." "I don't like incompetence," Gabriel said carefully. "You're not incompetent. That's not an answer." "It's the only one you're getting." Melody stared at him, and Gabriel saw the moment understanding dawned in those green eyes. The moment she realized what he'd been trying so hard to hide. "Oh," she whispered. "Miss Carter, why do you push everyone away? What happened to make you so cold?" Gabriel stood, rage and panic warring in his chest. "You're overstepping." "Maybe, but someone needs to." Melody didn't back down. "You paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for a stranger's mother. That's not cold. That's the opposite of cold. Get out." "No." The single word hung between them like a challenge. Gabriel moved around his desk, invading her space, using his height to intimidate. But Melody held her ground, chin tilted up defiantly. "You don't want to play this game with me," he said softly, dangerously. "I'm not playing any game. I'm trying to understand you." "There's nothing to understand. I'm your boss. You're my employee. That's all." "Then why can't you look at me when you say that?" Gabriel's control snapped. He gripped her shoulders, intending to push her away. But the moment he touched her, everything changed. The contact sent electricity through his body. Melody gasped, and Gabriel saw his own shock reflected in her eyes. "Mr. Winters," she breathed. "Gabriel," he corrected hoarsely. "If we're going to cross lines, you should at least use my name." "Gabriel." The word on her lips nearly undid him. "This is a mistake." "I know. We can't, I know." But neither of them moved. They stood frozen, inches apart, the air between them crackling with tension. Gabriel's thumb traced small circles on her shoulder, and Melody's breath hitched. "Tell me to stop," Gabriel murmured. "I should. But will you?" Melody closed her eyes. When she opened them, they burned with the same desperate hunger Gabriel felt consuming him from the inside out. "No," she whispered. "God help me, no." Gabriel's mouth crashed against hers, and the world exploded into sensation. Melody tasted like coffee and mint, her lips soft and yielding beneath his. She made a small sound in the back of her throat that drove him wild, her fingers tangling in his hair. This was wrong. Inappropriate. Crossing every professional boundary. Gabriel didn't care. For the first time in years, he felt alive. Felt something other than cold calculation and bitter rage. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Gabriel rested his forehead against Melody's. "This changes nothing," he said, even as his arms tightened around her waist. "Liar. I don't do relationships. I don't do feelings. I'm not capable of giving you what you deserve." Melody pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. "What if I don't want what I deserve? What if I just want you? You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me." Gabriel's phone buzzed insistently on his desk. He ignored it. It buzzed again, and again. With a curse, he released Melody and grabbed it, expecting Harrison or a client. Instead, his blood turned to ice at the name on the screen. "Victoria. Who is it?" Melody asked, noticing his expression. Gabriel's hand tightened around the phone until his knuckles turned white. "No one." "You should go." "Gabriel." "Now, Miss Carter." The cold mask slammed back into place so completely that Melody actually flinched. She gathered her composure, hurt and confusion warring across her features. "Yes, Mr. Winters." As she left, closing the door softly behind her, Gabriel opened the message. "I'm back in town, darling. We need to talk about our arrangement. Meet me at Elysium tomorrow night. Don't make me wait." Gabriel's hand trembled as he deleted the message. Victoria. The one person who knew his darkest secret. The one person who could destroy everything he'd built, and she just walked back into his life. The following morning arrived wrapped in storm clouds. Gabriel sat in his office, staring at the city below without seeing it. Victoria's message burned in his mind like acid. Melody entered at precisely 8 o'clock, setting his coffee down with careful precision. Neither acknowledged the kiss that had rewired Gabriel's entire existence the night before. "Your schedule for today, Mr. Winters." Her voice was professional, detached. It cut deeper than any of his own cruelties ever had. "Cancel everything after 7. Sir, I have a personal engagement." Something flickered in Melody's eyes. Pain, perhaps, or betrayal. "Of course. Will you need anything else?" "No." She turned to leave. "Melody." She stopped but didn't turn around. "Yes? Last night was a mistake. You said so yourself. Let's just forget it happened." Before Gabriel could respond, she was gone. He wanted to go after her. Wanted to explain that Victoria wasn't what Melody probably imagined. But how could he explain something he'd spent years hiding? How could he tell her the truth when the truth would destroy everything? The day crawled past in agonizing slowness. Gabriel caught himself watching Melody through the glass walls, noticing how she never looked his way. How her smile for Harrison was forced. How her hands shook slightly when she answered calls. At 6:30, Harrison cornered him. "What did you do?" "I don't know what you're talking about." "Melody. She's been different all day. Closed off." Harrison's eyes narrowed. "You kissed her, didn't you?" Gabriel's silence was answer enough. "You absolute idiot." Harrison ran a hand through his hair. "That woman is the best thing that's happened to you in years, and you're already pushing her away." "You don't understand." "Then make me understand." "I can't." Gabriel grabbed his coat. "I have to go." "Gabriel, wait." But Gabriel was already in the elevator, descending toward a meeting he dreaded more than anything. Elysium was exclusive, expensive, the kind of place where deals were made and secrets traded. Victoria sat in a private booth, looking exactly as she had 5 years ago. Blonde, beautiful, and utterly ruthless. "Gabriel, darling." She smiled like a snake. "You look well. Success suits you. What do you want, Victoria?" "Straight to business." "How dreadfully boring." She sipped her wine. "I want what I've always wanted. Control. You have your company. Leave mine alone." "Oh, but that's where things get interesting." Victoria leaned forward. "You see, I've been watching your recent activities. That generous donation to St. Mary's Hospital, for instance. Very unlike the Ice King. Tell me, who is she?" Gabriel's blood turned cold. "That's none of your concern. Everything about you is my concern. We made a deal, remember? 5 years ago, when you needed capital to start Winters Technologies. I gave you $10 million, which I paid back with interest. But we both know the money came with strings." Victoria's smile sharpened. "I own 30% of your company, Gabriel. A silent partnership you've kept carefully hidden, and I can pull that support any time I want." Gabriel's jaw clenched. "What do you want?" "Marry me." The words hit like a physical blow. "What? You heard me. Announce our engagement by the end of the month. We'll merge our companies, become a power couple, dominate the industry together. I'll never marry you. Then I'll destroy you." Victoria's voice went cold. "I'll call in my shares, force a hostile takeover, expose every dirty secret I know about your past, including how you really got your seed money." Gabriel stood, rage coursing through him. "You're bluffing." "Am I? Try me, darling. You have 48 hours to decide. Marry me, or watch everything you've built crumble to dust." Gabriel left without another word, Victoria's laughter following him into the night. He drove aimlessly for hours, mind racing. Victoria wasn't bluffing. She had the power to ruin him, to take everything he'd worked for. But marriage? Binding himself to a woman he despised for the rest of his life? At midnight, Gabriel found himself outside Melody's apartment building in a modest neighborhood across town. He shouldn't be here, had no right to drag her into his mess, but his feet carried him to her door anyway. He knocked. Melody answered in pajamas, hair pulled back, eyes widening in shock. "Gabriel? What are you doing here?" "I don't know." The admission felt like bleeding. I needed to see you." "It's midnight. You can't just show up. I'm going to lose everything." The words tumbled out before he could stop them. "Everything I've built, everything I've worked for, it's all going to disappear, and there's nothing I can do to stop it." Melody's expression softened. She stepped aside. "Come in." Her apartment was small but warm, filled with books and photographs. Gabriel sat on her worn couch, feeling out of place among such simple comfort. "Talk to me," Melody said, settling beside him. "What happened?" "I can't tell you. If I do, you'll be in danger too." "From who?" Gabriel looked at her, really looked at her. She deserved so much better than the mess he was about to create. "From the person I was before I became the Ice King." "I don't understand. Winters Technologies didn't start with just my brilliance and hard work. I had help, financial backing from someone who demanded a price I didn't fully understand at the time." His hands clenched into fists. "Now she's back and she wants payment." "What kind of payment?" "Marriage." Melody's sharp intake of breath cut through the silence. "You're engaged?" "No, God, no. She's blackmailing me. Marry her or she destroys my company." "That's illegal. You could fight her. With what?" "She has evidence of things I did when I was desperate. Things that could send me to prison." Gabriel's voice cracked. "I'm trapped, Melody. Completely trapped." Melody was quiet for a long moment. Then she took his hand, her small fingers intertwining with his. "Tell me everything." And Gabriel did. For the first time in 5 years, he told someone the whole truth. How he'd been 23 and broke, watching his father's company crumble after his death. How Victoria had approached him with an offer, $10 million in exchange for 30% silent ownership and future considerations to be determined. How he'd been too young and desperate to read the fine print. How that contract gave Victoria control over major company decisions. How she could force him into anything, including marriage, or destroy everything. When he finished, Melody didn't pull away. Instead, she squeezed his hand tighter. "There has to be a way out." "There isn't. I've spent 5 years looking. The contract is airtight. Then we buy her out. I know you have the money." "She won't sell. This isn't about money anymore. It's about power. Control." Gabriel turned to face her. "She knows I'm vulnerable. She knows I've finally found something I care about more than the company." "The company?" "You." The confession hung between them like a grenade with the pin pulled. "She knows about you, Melody. She's using you to manipulate me." Tears welled in Melody's eyes. "So last night was real. The realest thing I've felt in years. But it's also the most dangerous thing I've ever done. What are you going to do?" Gabriel stood, putting distance between them before he did something stupid like pull her into his arms and never let go. "I'm going to marry Victoria, announce it publicly, merge the companies, give her what she wants." "No." Melody stood too, anger flashing in her eyes. "You're going to fight. There's no fight to win. Then I'll buy her shares." Gabriel laughed bitterly. "With what money?" "I don't know yet. But there has to be a way. We'll find investors, get loans, something." "Melody, stop. You can't save me. Watch me try." Her determination should have been endearing. Instead, it terrified him. "If you go against Victoria, she'll destroy you too. I won't let that happen. You don't get to decide what risks I take." "Actually, as your boss, I do." Gabriel forced ice into his voice, rebuilding walls brick by brick. "This conversation is over. You're fired, effective immediately." Melody recoiled as if he'd slapped her. "What?" "You're fired. I'll have HR send your final paycheck. Collect your things tomorrow while I'm out." "You can't." "I can, and I just did." Gabriel moved toward the door. "Stay away from me, Melody. Stay away from Victoria. Forget you ever knew me." "Gabriel, please. It's Mr. Winters, and we're done here." He left before she could see the tears burning in his eyes, before he could turn back and beg her forgiveness, before he could admit that firing her was the kindest thing he could do, because Victoria would use her as leverage, hurt her to hurt him. Better Melody hate him than become collateral damage. Gabriel made it to his car before his composure shattered. He gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, breathing hard. His phone buzzed. A message from Harrison. Victoria just posted on social media. You need to see this." With dread pooling in his stomach, Gabriel opened the app. Victoria's post showed a photo of them from 5 years ago, arms linked, smiling. The caption made his blood run cold. "Thrilled to announce my engagement to Gabriel Winters, CEO of Winters Technologies. Some love stories just need time to develop. Can't wait to spend forever with this brilliant man. Engaged, power couple." Winters coming posted 2 hours ago. While Gabriel had been at Melody's apartment, pouring his heart out, Victoria hadn't given him 48 hours. She'd already made her move. Gabriel's phone rang. Harrison. "Did you know about this?" "No," Gabriel said hollowly, "but I should have expected it." "What are you going to do?" Gabriel looked back at Melody's building, windows glowing warm against the cold night. "What I have to. Everything I have to." He started the engine and drove away, leaving his heart behind. Inside her apartment, Melody stared at Victoria's post on her own phone, tears streaming down her face. But beneath the heartbreak, something harder crystallized. Something sharp and determined. Gabriel wanted to protect her by pushing her away. Noble, stupid, and completely ineffective. Because Melody Carter hadn't survived her mother's illness, 3 jobs, and crushing poverty by giving up when things got hard. And she certainly wasn't going to let the man she'd fallen for sacrifice himself to a monster. She opened her laptop and began to research. Victoria Ashford, her companies, her history, her weaknesses. Everyone had weaknesses. Melody just had to find them. What she discovered in the next 3 hours made her blood run cold, but it also gave her a weapon. One Victoria would never see coming. As dawn broke over the city, Melody made a phone call. "Mr. Blake, it's Melody Carter. I need your help with something. Something that's going to sound insane, but I need you to trust me." "What is it?" Harrison sounded wary. "I need you to tell me everything you know about Victoria Ashford, and then I need you to introduce me to her." "Melody, what are you planning?" "Something dangerous. Something possibly illegal. Something that might blow up in all our faces." She took a breath. "But it's the only way to save Gabriel from himself." There was a long pause. Then Harrison spoke, voice grim. "When do we start?" Gabriel hadn't slept in 3 days. His office had become a prison, walls closing in as he reviewed merger documents that would bind him to Victoria forever. Each signature felt like signing away pieces of his soul. Harrison entered without knocking. "We need to talk." "Not now." "Yes, now. Victoria's holding a press conference this afternoon, announcing your engagement officially. Are you really going through with this?" Gabriel's hand tightened around his pen. "What choice do I have?" "Fight. Walk away. Start over. And let her destroy everything?" Gabriel laughed bitterly. "You know what that contract says. She can claim the company was built on illegal investments. She has evidence fake, but convincing, that I embezzled from my father's estate. I'd go to prison, Harrison. For crimes I didn't commit. Then we expose her. With what proof? She's covered her tracks for 5 years. I'm trapped." Harrison sat down heavily. "There might be another way." Something in his voice made Gabriel look up. "What did you do?" "I didn't do anything, but Melody did." Gabriel shot to his feet. "I told her to stay out of this. She didn't listen. Gabriel, she's been investigating Victoria for the past 72 hours, and she found something. Something big. Where is she?" "Meeting with Victoria right now." Gabriel's world tilted. "What?" "She asked me to set up a meeting. Said she had a business proposition. Victoria agreed, probably just to torment you." Gabriel was already grabbing his coat. "Where?" "The Olympus Hotel. Presidential suite." "But Gabriel, You need to trust Melody. She has a plan. The last person who had a plan ended up blackmailing me for 5 years. I'm not losing Melody, too. He ran for the elevator, heart pounding with terror. Victoria would eat Melody alive. She'd destroy her just to prove she could. The Olympus Hotel loomed against the sky, all glass and steel. Gabriel burst into the lobby, ignored the concierge's protests, and took the private elevator to the top floor. The presidential suite doors stood open. Gabriel stepped inside to find Melody seated across from Victoria, teacups between them, looking for all the world like old friends. "Gabriel, darling." Victoria's smile was poisonous. "Your little assistant came to see me. We've been having the most interesting conversation." Gabriel's eyes locked on Melody. She looked calm, composed, but he saw the tension in her shoulders. "Melody, what are you doing?" "What you're too proud to do, negotiating." "There's nothing to negotiate." "Actually, there is." Melody set down her teacup with careful precision. "Victoria has been telling me about your contract. The 30% ownership. The controlling clauses. Very impressive legal work." "Thank you, dear. I like to be thorough." "You certainly were. Except for one small oversight." Victoria's smile faltered slightly. "I don't make oversights. Everyone does." Melody pulled out a folder. "The contract states that Victoria Ashford of Ashford Industries owns 30% of Winters Technologies. Very specific naming, very deliberate." "So?" Victoria's voice grew cold. "So 3 months ago, Ashford Industries filed for bankruptcy protection. A shell company to manage bad investments, I believe. The filing is public record, which means, legally, Ashford Industries no longer exists in its original form. It's been restructured, reincorporated under a new name." Victoria's face went white. "Your shares were tied to an entity that no longer legally exists," Melody continued, voice steady as a blade. "The contract is void." The room went silent. Gabriel stared at Melody in shock. She'd found the loophole. The impossible loophole Victoria herself had created. Victoria stood slowly, rage radiating from her like heat. "That's a technicality. It's the law. And you know what else I found? The evidence you have against Gabriel? The documents about embezzlement? I traced the digital fingerprints. They were created on your personal laptop. Fabricated, falsified. That's a felony, Victoria. Multiple felonies, actually. You can't prove that." "I already did. Sent copies to the SEC this morning. They're very interested in your creative accounting practices. Turns out you've been running more scams than just this one." Victoria moved with viper speed, grabbing Melody by the throat. "You little bitch!" Gabriel crossed the room in 3 strides, ripping Victoria's hands away. "Touch her again, and I'll destroy you myself." Victoria laughed, the sound unhinged. "You think you've won? You think this is over?" "It is," Melody said, rubbing her throat. "Your shares are worthless. Your blackmail is useless. And in about 3 hours, federal agents are going to arrive at your office with questions you won't be able to answer." "You have no idea what you've done." Victoria's eyes blazed. "No idea who you're dealing with." "Actually, I do. I know you've been using shell companies to funnel money from investors. I know about the Cayman accounts. I know about the fraud, the embezzlement, all of it." Melody stood, meeting Victoria's gaze without flinching. "I know everything, Victoria. And now so do the authorities." Victoria turned to Gabriel. "You're just going to let her do this? After everything we've been through?" "We've been through nothing. You blackmailed me, manipulated me, tried to force me into marriage. That's not history. That's abuse. I gave you everything. You gave me money with chains attached. That's not a gift. That's a prison." Gabriel moved to stand beside Melody. "We're done. The engagement is off. The merger is canceled. You're finished." For a moment, Victoria just stared at them. Then her expression shifted into something cold and calculating. "Fine. You want to play it this way? I'll give you what you want." She moved toward the door, then paused. "But know this, Gabriel. That girl you're so desperate to protect, she's not as innocent as she seems." "What are you talking about?" Victoria smiled. "Ask her about the job offer. The one I made her 3 days ago. Gabriel's heart stopped. What? Oh, he doesn't know? Victoria's laugh was cruel. How delicious. Melody, dear, why don't you tell him about our little arrangement? There is no arrangement, Melody said, but her voice wavered. Isn't there? Then why did you accept my offer to pay you $2 million to destroy Gabriel's reputation from the inside? Why have you been feeding me information about his meetings, his deals, his vulnerabilities? That's not I didn't. You signed the contract 3 days ago. I have your signature, Melody. Electronic but legally binding. The room spun. Gabriel turned to Melody, searching her face for denial. But what he saw there made his chest collapse. Guilt, fear, shame. Tell me it's not true. His voice broke. Tell me you didn't betray me. Gabriel, please let me explain. Did you sign a contract with Victoria? Yes or no? Tears spilled down Melody's cheeks. Yes, but Gabriel stepped back as if she'd struck him. Get out. It's not what you think, I said get out. The words tore from his throat, raw and bleeding. You're just like her. Just like everyone else. Using me, manipulating me. I did it to protect you. Melody's voice rose. Victoria threatened to hurt my mother. To pull funding for her treatments. She said if I didn't sign, she'd make sure Mom died in pain. So yes, I signed her damn contract. But I never intended to go through with it. Then why not tell me? Because I knew you'd do exactly this. Push me away to protect me. Sacrifice yourself. So you decided to lie instead? To manipulate me like everyone else? I was trying to buy time. To find another way, by pretending to care about me. By letting me fall for you while you worked for my enemy. The accusation hung in the air like poison. Melody's face crumpled. I do care about you. God, Gabriel, I love you. Don't. Gabriel's voice went dead. Don't say that word. Not when everything between us was built on lies. Not everything. My feelings are real. How would I know? How would I ever know what's real with you? He turned away, unable to look at her. Victoria was right. You're not innocent. You're just better at hiding it. Gabriel, please, leave. Both of you. Before I do something I'll regret. Victoria moved to the door, pausing beside Melody. Checkmate, sweetheart. Never play games with people who invented them. She left, her laughter echoing down the hallway. Melody stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. Gabriel, just listen. There's nothing left to say. He finally looked at her, and the coldness in his eyes made her flinch. You had a choice. You could have trusted me, come to me, let me help protect your mother. Instead, you chose to go behind my back, to sign with my enemy, to lie. I was scared. We're all scared, Melody. The difference is I trusted you. I told you my darkest secrets, and you repaid that trust by selling me out. I didn't sell you out. I never gave her anything, but you agreed to. You signed the contract. That's all that matters. Gabriel moved to the window, putting physical distance between them. I thought you were different. I thought you saw me as more than just a tool to use. But you're just like Victoria, just like my father, just like everyone who's ever pretended to care. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Miss Carter. You should have learned that by now. The formal address felt like a door slamming shut. Melody backed toward the door, stumbling slightly. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. Gabriel didn't respond. Didn't turn around. Just stood at the window, shoulders rigid, until he heard the door click closed. Then he collapsed against the glass, sliding to the floor. His carefully constructed walls hadn't just cracked. They'd shattered completely. And underneath, Gabriel found only pain. Melody had made it to the elevator before the sobs overtook her. She'd tried to save him and ended up destroying what little trust he'd built. Victoria had won after all, just not in the way anyone expected. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You played your part beautifully. The look on his face was priceless. Don't worry about the contract, dear. I'm tearing it up. Breaking his heart was payment enough. Melody stared at the message, horror washing over her. She'd been manipulated, used. Victoria had never intended to enforce the contract. She just wanted to create this exact scenario, drive a wedge between Gabriel and the one person who'd gotten close to him, and Melody had fallen for it completely. In the suite above, Gabriel's phone rang. Harrison, please tell me you didn't push her away. She betrayed me, Gabriel said hollowly. Signed a contract with Victoria, under duress, to protect her dying mother. "Gabriel, you can't seriously be angry," she lied to me. Because she was terrified. Because she knew you'd do exactly what you're doing now, punishing her for trying to save someone she loves. Harrison's voice grew hard. "You're making a mistake. A huge one. Melody is the best thing that's ever happened to you. She's also a liar. We're all liars when it comes to protecting the people we love. That's not betrayal. That's being human." Harrison paused. "But fine. Push her away. Build your walls higher. Die alone in your perfect, sterile office. Just don't call me when you realize what you've lost." The line went dead. Gabriel sat in silence as daylight faded to dusk. Outside, the city lights began to sparkle. Inside, everything was dark. He'd won. Victoria's shares were worthless. Her blackmail was gone. His company was his own again. So why did it feel like he'd lost everything that mattered? His computer chimed with an incoming email. Gabriel opened it numbly. It was from Melody. Subject line: "The truth. Gabriel, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to read this. But I need you to know the full story. 3 days ago, Victoria approached me. She said she'd pull funding for my mother's treatment unless I signed a contract agreeing to feed her information about you. I was desperate. Terrified. My mother is all I have left. But I never gave Victoria anything real. Every meeting, every conversation, I invented details. Gave her useless information disguised as valuable intel. I was trying to stall her while I found a real solution. The research I did on her wasn't to help you. It was to destroy her, to find a way to break both of us free from her manipulation. Everything I told her today was real. The void contract. The fraud evidence. All of it. I signed her contract. That's true. But only so I could get close enough to take her down. You're right that I lied. I should have trusted you. Should have come to you the moment Victoria approached me. But I was so afraid you'd push me away to protect me. Sacrifice yourself like you always do. So I tried to be strong enough for both of us. And I failed. I'm sorry for the deception. Sorry for the pain. But I'm not sorry for trying to save you. You're worth saving, Gabriel. Even if you can't see it yourself. Take care of yourself. Melody Gabriel read the email 3 times. Each word felt like a knife twisting in his chest. She'd been trying to protect him. Trying to destroy Victoria from the inside. And he'd thrown it in her face. Accused her of the very manipulations she'd been fighting against. He grabbed his phone, started to call her, then stopped. What would he say? Sorry wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. A news alert flashed across his screen. Breaking. Victoria Ashford, arrested for securities fraud. Federal investigation ongoing. Melody had done it. Brought Victoria down. Freed them both. And Gabriel had repaid her by breaking her heart. He stood, grabbed his coat, and ran for the door. He had to find her. Had to apologize. Had to tell her his phone rang. The hospital. St. Mary's. Mr. Winters? This is Dr. Chen. I'm calling about Amanda Carter. She's listed you as an emergency contact. Gabriel's blood turned to ice. What's wrong? Ms. Carter collapsed this evening. We're running tests, but it's not looking good. She's asking for her daughter, but we can't reach Melody. Do you know where she is? I'll find her, Gabriel said, already running. Tell Amanda I'm bringing her daughter. Don't let anything happen to her until I do. He tried Melody's phone. No answer. Tried again. Nothing. Harrison answered on the first ring. What? I need to find Melody, now. Her mother's at the hospital. It's bad. She's at the airport. Flight to Seattle leaves in 20 minutes. She's leaving town, Gabriel. Gabriel was already in his car, engine roaring to life. Which terminal? 3. But you'll never make it in time. Gabriel hung up and drove like his life depended on it. Gabriel abandoned his car in a no-parking zone and ran through the terminal like a man possessed. Security tried to stop him. He flashed credentials, barked orders, kept moving. Terminal 3, Gate 42, boarding in progress. He saw her through the crowd. Auburn hair, navy dress, carrying a single bag, walking toward the gate with the defeated posture of someone who'd given up. Melody! She didn't turn. Couldn't hear him over the airport noise. Gabriel pushed through travelers, ignoring angry protests. Melody Carter! This time she heard, turned. Her eyes widened in shock. Gabriel closed the distance between them, breathing hard. Don't get on that plane. What are you doing here? Your mother. She's at the hospital. Dr. Chen called. The color drained from Melody's face. What happened? She collapsed. They're running tests. She's asking for you. Melody's bag hit the floor. I have to go. I'll take you. My car's outside. They ran together, past security, through automated doors, into the parking lot. Gabriel's Mercedes sat where he'd left it, a parking ticket already under the wiper. He didn't care. They drove in silence, Gabriel breaking every speed limit. Melody stared out the window, hands clenched in her lap. I'm sorry, Gabriel said finally, for what I said. How I reacted, I was wrong. We can talk about this later. Right now, I just need to see my mom. No, you need to hear this now. Gabriel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I read your email, all of it. I understand why you signed Victoria's contract. You were protecting your mother, and I would have done the same thing. Gabriel, I spent my entire life building walls to keep people out, telling myself it was strength when really it was cowardice. You scared me, Melody. You got past every defense I had. Saw parts of me I'd hidden for years. And the moment I felt vulnerable, I did what I always do. I pushed you away. Tears streamed down Melody's face. I should have trusted you. I never gave you reason to. I've spent months proving I'm cold, unfeeling. Someone who solves problems by cutting people out. He glanced at her. But you made me want to be better. You made me want to try. What are you saying? I'm saying I love you. I'm saying I'm sorry. I'm saying please don't leave. Melody turned to stare at him. You love me. Terrifyingly. Completely. In a way that makes me want to burn down everything I've built just to keep you safe. Gabriel's voice cracked. I'm saying that losing my company would hurt. But losing you, that would destroy me. Before Melody could respond, they arrived at St. Mary's. They ran through halls together, finding Dr. Chen outside a private room. How is she? Melody asked breathlessly. Dr. Chen's expression was grave. Your mother's cancer has spread to her brain. The treatments we've been using are no longer effective. I'm sorry, Melody. We're looking at weeks, maybe days. Melody's legs gave out. Gabriel caught her, held her as sobs racked her body. Can I see her? Of course. She's been asking for you. Inside the room, Amanda Carter lay pale against white sheets. But her eyes lit up when Melody entered. There's my girl. Mom. Melody rushed to her bedside, taking her mother's frail hand. I'm here. I'm right here. I know, sweetheart. Amanda's gaze shifted to Gabriel, standing awkwardly by the door. And you brought someone. This is Gabriel, my boss. He drove me here. Boyfriend, you mean? Amanda smiled weakly. I recognize that look on his face. Same way your father looked at me. Gabriel stepped closer. Mrs. Carter, if there's anything you need. There is, actually. Amanda's grip tightened on Melody's hand. Promise me you'll take care of my daughter. She spent her whole life taking care of everyone else. She needs someone to take care of her for once. Mom, don't... Promise me, Amanda insisted, looking at Gabriel. Gabriel met her eyes without flinching. I promise. Whatever she needs, for as long as she'll let me, I'll be there. Amanda nodded, satisfied. Good. Now leave us alone for a bit. I need to talk to my daughter. Gabriel squeezed Melody's shoulder gently and left, giving them privacy. In the hallway, he leaned against the wall. Emotions he'd suppressed for years threatening to overwhelm him. His phone buzzed. Harrison. How is she? Not good. Weeks at most. God, I'm sorry. A pause. There's something else. The board called an emergency meeting. They want to discuss your engagement announcement, the Victoria situation, everything. They're questioning your judgment. Let them question. Gabriel, they could force you out. 3 board members are already talking about a vote of no confidence. I don't care. Silence. Then what? You heard me. If they want the company, they can have it. I'm staying here with Melody. You're serious. More serious than I've ever been about anything. Gabriel looked through the window at Melody sitting beside her mother's bed. I spent years building an empire while destroying everything that mattered. I'm not making that mistake again. I never thought I'd hear you say that. Neither did I. But some things are more important than money, than power, than any of the things I've been chasing. Gabriel's voice steadied. Schedule the meeting for next week. I'll deal with the board then. Right now, I'm exactly where I need to be. Inside the room, Amanda was speaking softly. You love him. Melody wiped her eyes. Is it that obvious? To someone who knows you? Yes, Amanda smiled. He's good for you. Broken maybe, but trying to heal. That's all anyone can ask. I'm so scared, Mom. I know, baby. But fear is just love with nowhere to go. Let it go somewhere. Let it go to him. What if he hurts me again? He will. You'll hurt him too. That's what love is. Hurting each other and choosing to stay anyway. Amanda's breathing grew labored. Promise me you'll let yourself be happy. Stop sacrificing yourself for everyone else. I promise. Good. Now send him back in. I want to meet the man who finally cracked my daughter's careful heart. Gabriel entered at Melody's signal. Amanda studied him with the piercing gaze of mothers everywhere. Sit down, young man. Gabriel sat, suddenly feeling like he was 16 again. My daughter is the strongest person I know. She's also the most afraid of needing anyone. Amanda's eyes never left his. You hurt her today. Pushed her away when she needed you most. I know. I'm sorry. I don't want your apology. I want your promise. Promise me that when things get hard, when you get scared, you won't run. You'll stay and fight for her. Gabriel met her gaze directly. I promise. I'll fight for her every day, even when she tells me not to. Even when I'm terrified. I'll stay. Amanda nodded slowly. Then you have my blessing. Take care of each other. She closed her eyes, exhausted. Gabriel and Melody sat vigil beside her bed as night deepened into morning. At dawn, Amanda's breathing changed. Became shallow, irregular. Melody gripped her mother's hand, tears falling silent. I love you, Mom. Thank you for everything. Thank you for fighting so hard. Amanda's eyes opened one last time. She looked at Melody, then at Gabriel and smiled. Be happy, sweetheart. That's all I ever wanted. Her eyes closed. Her breathing stopped. And just like that, Amanda Carter was gone. Melody's grief was a physical thing, tearing from her throat in sounds no human should make. Gabriel held her as she shattered, his own tears falling into her hair. He'd lost his father years ago. He knew this pain, the specific agony of goodbye. They stayed until morning fully broke, until nurses came with gentle voices and kind hands. Until there was nothing left to do but sign papers and make arrangements. In the parking lot, Melody stood motionless, staring at nothing. Where do you want to go? Gabriel asked softly. I don't know. My apartment, no, I can't go there. Everything there reminds me of her. Then come home with me. Gabriel. Not as anything more than you're ready for. Just come home. Don't be alone right now. Melody nodded numbly. Gabriel's penthouse was cold marble and expensive emptiness. Melody walked through it like a ghost, touching nothing, seeing nothing. Showers through there. I'll find you something to wear. Melody disappeared into the bathroom. Gabriel heard the water start, heard her begin to cry again. Every instinct screamed to go to her, but he forced himself to give her space. Privacy for grief. He made tea, laid out clothes, tried not to fall apart himself. When Melody emerged, drowning in his shirt and sweatpants, Gabriel guided her to the couch. She curled against him without a word, and he held her while she grieved. Hours passed. The sun crossed the sky. Neither of them moved. Finally, Melody spoke. She liked you. I liked her. She made you promise to take care of me. I would have done that anyway. Melody was quiet for a long moment. I have to make funeral arrangements, plan a service, call relatives. There's so much to do. We'll do it together. You don't have to. Yes, I do, because you're not alone anymore. Neither of us is. Melody tilted her face up to look at him. Her eyes were red, swollen, devastated. I'm a mess. So am I. We're terrible at this, at being vulnerable, at letting people in. Then we'll learn together. Gabriel brushed hair from her face. No more walls. No more pushing each other away when things get hard. We face it together or not at all. That terrifies me. Me too. But being without you terrifies me more. Melody reached up, touching his face with trembling fingers. I love you. I should have said it before. Should have said it 1,000 times. I love you too, and I'll spend the rest of my life proving it. They kissed, soft and salt-sweet with tears. A promise in the wreckage, a beginning in the ending. Gabriel's phone rang. The bored, The emergency meeting, reality intruding on their grief. He silenced it without looking. Don't you need to take that? No. Everything I need is right here. But as night fell, Gabriel knew the battle wasn't over. The board wanted him gone. Victoria's arrest had sent shockwaves through the industry. Winters Technologies was in chaos, and he had a choice to make. Fight to keep the company he'd built, the empire he'd created, pour everything into salvaging his reputation and his business, or choose Melody. Choose love over legacy. It shouldn't have been a difficult decision, but Gabriel had spent his entire adult life defining himself by his company. Without it, who was he? He looked at Melody sleeping in his arms, exhausted from grief, trusting him completely despite everything he'd done wrong. Some sacrifices weren't sacrifices at all. They were simply choosing what mattered most. Gabriel made his decision. The next morning, he called Harrison. Draft a resignation letter, effective immediately. I'm stepping down as CEO. What? Gabriel, no. Find someone capable to replace me. You, ideally. You've always been better at the human side of business anyway. This is insane. You're going to throw away everything you've built? Not throw away, let go. There's a difference. Gabriel looked at Melody, awake now, staring at him with wide eyes. I spent years building walls and calling it strength. Chasing success and calling it purpose. But all I really built was a prison. I'm done living in it. What will you do? I don't know yet. But I'll figure it out. With Melody. He hung up. Melody was crying again, but differently this time. You can't do that. Gabriel, that company is your life. It was my life. Past tense. He pulled her close. You're my life now. And I'm not going to lose you chasing something that doesn't matter anymore. But your legacy will be that I chose love over ambition, that I learned to be human before it was too late. Gabriel kissed her forehead. Besides, I'm still a major shareholder. I'll stay on the board, provide strategic guidance. I'm not abandoning the company. I'm just making room for something more important. What if you regret it? The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner. He met her eyes. I'm all in, Melody. Completely. No walls, no backup plans, no safety nets. Just you and me figuring out this messy, terrifying thing called love. Melody threw her arms around him, and for the first time in days, she laughed. We're insane. Probably. This is going to be a disaster. Definitely. I love you so much. Good. Because you're stuck with me now. They held each other as morning light filled the room. Two broken people choosing to heal together. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real. And after years of carefully constructed lies, reality was exactly what they both needed. 6 months later, Gabriel stood in a small community center across town, worlds away from the marble and glass towers he'd once ruled. Children laughed in the next room. Paint-splattered tables surrounded him. The air smelled of creativity and chaos. This was his life now. Mr. Winters? A teenager approached, holding a canvas. Can you look at this? I'm not sure about the shading. Gabriel examined the painting. A cityscape rendered in bold strokes. The light source is coming from here, he pointed. Which means the shadows should fall this way. Try adding darker tones here and here. The kid's face lit up. That makes so much sense, thanks. As the teenager returned to work, Melody entered carrying coffee. She wore jeans and a paint-stained sweater, hair pulled back, looking nothing like the nervous secretary who'd stumbled into his office with scattered papers. She looked happy. How's the class going? She asked, handing him a cup. Good. Maria finished her portfolio piece. Thomas is still struggling with perspective, but he's getting there. Gabriel sipped the coffee, smiling. Who knew teaching art to inner-city kids could be this fulfilling? Everyone except you. Melody kissed his cheek. How was the board meeting this morning? Harrison's doing great as CEO. Q3 profits are up 15%. The Victoria situation is finally settled. She pled guilty to fraud charges. Got 7 years. Good. Melody's voice held no sympathy. Victoria had tried to destroy them both. She deserved what she got. They want me back, Gabriel said quietly. Melody's hand stilled on his shoulder. What did you say? I told them no. That this is where I belong now. He gestured at the room full of young artists. These kids, this place, it matters more than quarterly earnings ever did. You don't miss it? The power, the prestige? Sometimes, old habits. Gabriel turned to face her. But then I remember what it cost me. Remember who I was, cold, angry, alone. I'd rather be here, covered in paint, making a difference in ways that actually matter. Melody's eyes shimmered. Your father would be proud. Maybe. He built his company to create jobs, support families. I built mine to prove I could, to show the world I was worth something. Gabriel pulled Melody close. Turns out I had to lose everything to find out what I was really worth. And what's that? Whatever you say I am, she laughed, the sound filling him with warmth. Smooth talker. I learned from the best. They stood together, watching teenagers create art from nothing, building something beautiful from blank canvas, not unlike what Gabriel and Melody were doing with their own lives. Harrison called during lunch break. You're sure about this? About walking away? I didn't walk away. I walked toward something better. Gabriel watched Melody laugh with a group of students. Besides, you're doing incredible work. The company doesn't need me. It will always need you. You built it. And now it's time to build something else. After hanging up, Gabriel found Melody in the storage room, organizing supplies. She looked up as he entered. Hey, everything okay? Better than okay. Gabriel closed the door behind him. I have something to ask you. If it's about the budget for new easels, I already approved it. Gabriel dropped to one knee. Melody's words died. Her hand flew to her mouth. Melody Carter, you crashed into my life covered in scattered papers and somehow managed to break through every wall I'd spent years building. You showed me what it means to be human, to be vulnerable, to be brave enough to love someone despite all their broken pieces. He pulled out a simple ring, elegant but not ostentatious. I'm not the man I was. I'm messy now, uncertain, still learning how to do this whole emotional honesty thing. But I'm better with you. I'm me with you, the version of myself I was always meant to be. Tears streamed down Melody's face. So I'm asking, will you marry me? Will you keep teaching me how to be human? Will you build a life with me? Paint-stained and chaotic and perfectly imperfect. Melody dropped to her knees in front of him, laughing and crying. You're supposed to wait for an answer before you get me on your level. Is that a yes? It's a hell yes, you impossible man. They kissed surrounded by art supplies and half-finished canvases. Two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and chosen to build something new. The wedding was small, held in the community center where they now spent their days. Harrison stood as best man. A handful of students filled the chairs. No business associates, no press, no spectacle. Just love, raw and real. Gabriel Winters, Melody said during vows she'd written herself. You were the coldest man I'd ever met, and somehow you became the warmest. You taught me that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about breaking and choosing to heal, about letting someone see your scars and trusting them not to hurt you worse. Gabriel's own vows were simpler. Melody, you saw me when I couldn't see myself. You stayed when I pushed you away. You fought for us when I didn't know we were worth fighting for. I promise to spend every day earning the love you've given me, to be worthy of your trust, to never stop choosing you. They exchanged rings, kissed as husband and wife. And for the first time in Gabriel's life, everything felt exactly as it should be. Months turned into years. The community center grew, funded by Gabriel's strategic investments and Melody's tireless work. They added a music program, a writing workshop, a safe space for kids who had nowhere else to go. Gabriel never returned to Winters Technologies, though he remained a shareholder and occasional consultant. Harrison sent regular updates. New deals closed, innovations launched, the company thriving under leadership that valued people as much as profit. He's doing better than I ever did, Gabriel admitted one evening, reading through quarterly reports. Melody looked up from grading student essays. Because he learned from your mistakes. Harsh, true. She set aside her work. Do you regret it, really? Gabriel thought about it. About the empire he'd built and walked away from. About the power he'd wielded and surrendered. About the man he'd been versus the man he'd become. Not even a little bit. They'd moved from his sterile penthouse to a modest house in a neighborhood with actual trees and children playing outside. The walls were covered with student artwork. The fridge held crayon drawings and wedding photos. Every surface told a story of lives lived. Love shared. It was messy, chaotic, beautifully imperfect. It was home. On their second anniversary, Melody handed Gabriel a small wrapped box. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a pregnancy test. Positive. Gabriel stared at it, then at Melody, then back at the test. "You're pregnant?" "We're pregnant." Melody's smile was radiant. Surprise. Gabriel pulled her into his arms, overwhelmed by emotions he'd once thought himself incapable of feeling. Joy, fear, hope, love so intense it physically hurt. "We're having a baby." "We're having a baby," Melody confirmed. "Are you ready for this?" Gabriel thought about the man he'd been. Cold, calculating, convinced vulnerability was weakness. He'd have seen a child as a liability, another thing to control and manage. Now he saw possibility. The chance to be the father his dad had tried to be, to raise someone with love instead of expectations, to build a family from the ruins of his broken past. "No," he said honestly, "but I don't think anyone's ever really ready. We'll figure it out together." "Together," Melody agreed. Their daughter arrived 7 months later, screaming her way into the world with fierce determination. They named her Amanda after Melody's mother. She had Gabriel's dark hair and Melody's green eyes and an absolute refusal to sleep through the night. Gabriel, former CEO of a billion-dollar corporation, walked the floors at 3 a.m, bouncing a crying infant, singing off-key lullabies, and he'd never been happier. "You're a natural," Melody said one exhausted morning, finding him asleep in the rocking chair with Amanda on his chest. "I'm a disaster," Gabriel corrected, "but I'm trying." That's all that matters. Years continued their relentless march. Amanda grew into a whirlwind of energy and questions. The community center expanded into 3 locations. Gabriel's paintings, discovered by a gallery owner, began selling under a pseudonym, not for the money, but because creation brought him peace in ways acquisition never had. He and Melody built a life. Not perfect, never easy, but theirs. They fought sometimes, hurt each other occasionally, made mistakes and apologized and tried again, but they never walked away. Never gave up, never stopped choosing each other, even when it would have been easier not to. Harrison visited regularly, bringing tales from the corporate world. "You don't miss it at all?" he'd ask every time. And every time, Gabriel would look at Melody and Amanda, at the life they'd created from broken pieces, and smile. Not even a little bit. On the 10-year anniversary of the day Melody had stumbled into his office scattering papers, Gabriel took her back to the Winters Technologies building. They stood in the marble lobby looking up at the floors he'd once ruled. "What are we doing here?" Melody asked. "Remembering." Gabriel pulled her close. 10 years ago, you walked through those doors and changed my life. I was so busy being cold and cruel that I almost missed you, almost pushed you away before I understood what you meant. But you didn't. I tried. Gabriel laughed softly. God knows I tried. But you refused to be pushed. You stayed. You fought. You saved me from myself. We saved each other, Melody corrected. I was so busy sacrificing myself for everyone else that I forgot I deserved to be happy too. You taught me that. They stood in silence, 2 people who'd found each other in the chaos and built something beautiful from the ruins. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't hired you? Gabriel asked. If I'd turned you away like the others? Every day, Melody admitted. I think about the woman I was. Scared, desperate, wearing worn shoes and hoping no one would notice. I think about how close I came to giving up. But you didn't. Neither did you. Even when it would have been easier. Even when I gave you every reason to walk away. Melody turned in his arms. You chose me. Over your company, your reputation, everything you'd built. That's not weakness, Gabriel. That's the bravest thing I've ever seen. Gabriel kissed her forehead. Want to know a secret? Always. It was the easiest choice I ever made. They left the building hand in hand, walking toward their car, toward home, toward the messy, chaotic, perfectly imperfect life they'd created together. Behind them, the Winters Technologies building gleamed against the sky, a monument to ambition and power. Ahead lay a modest house with toys in the yard and crayon drawings on the fridge. Gabriel had spent years chasing the building. Now he was running toward the house, and he'd never looked back. That night, after Amanda was asleep and the house was quiet, Gabriel and Melody sat on their porch watching stars appear. "Do you think we're happy?" Melody asked suddenly. Gabriel considered the question. Thought about everything they'd been through. The pain, the mistakes, the struggles, the joy, the laughter, the love. "I think we're real," he said finally. "Not perfect, not without scars, but real. And together. And still choosing each other every single day. If that's not happiness, I don't know what is." Melody leaned against him, fitting perfectly in the space she'd carved in his life 10 years ago. "I love you, Gabriel Winters." "I love you too, Melody Winters." They sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell and stars blazed overhead. Two people who'd crashed together by accident and stayed together by choice. Who'd burned down their carefully constructed walls and built something better from the ashes. It wasn't the life Gabriel had planned. Wasn't the empire he'd envisioned or the legacy he'd imagined. It was better because it was real. Because it was messy. Because it was filled with love instead of just success. And in the end, that made all the difference. Inside the house, their daughter slept peacefully. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new chaos, new opportunities to fail and try again. But tonight, in this moment, everything was exactly as it should be. Gabriel Winters had spent his life building an empire, but his greatest achievement was learning to build a home, and he'd finally found exactly where he belonged. The end.